So today I'll be showing you 3 ways you can start and finish off your beaded necklaces using tiger tail. There's so many ways, jewelers finish off their beaded jewelries. But today I'm going to show you 3 exciting ways. For me, I call them exciting because for me, obviously, these are the 3 methods I use in my own jewelry. So I'll be happy to share those techniques with you. But firstly, I like to work in a very flat surface, somewhere that is padded. I've got like a felt background here. I like it because obviously I can lay out my beads properly and my findings properly on the mat, and I can easily find things that I need, and I'll have my tools on one side. Okay, so the tools I'll be using today is I use a lot of tools. I use a bending nose plier, which is this plier here, and I use a round nose plier, which is this plier here, and I use a flat nose plier, which is this one here, and this actually is like 2-in-1. It's got like the cutter, which is the sharp part here, and it's got this ridged parts here, which I normally use for crimping. And I also have my cutter here. So my cutter is what I use to cut my tiger tails or any wires that I'm using, or stringing materials that I'm using. Okay, so these are the materials and the pliers I'll be using today. So I want to go ahead and show you this method here. So this method here, again, I've used a tiger tail. Here I've used a tiger tail. So let me move this to one side. I've used a tiger tail, and I've used a crimp bead within this design with this stringing method, and I've also used what they call a claw clamp, or called calottes, and I've also used a jump ring. Okay, so the total we'll be needing for this, to get this technique, we'll be using 2 calottes for this design. So you get 2 calottes. Calottes looks like this. They're quite open. I'm just going to use one of my pliers to open it up. It's a very unique claw-shaped design. Okay, it looks like this, and it has 2 holes on both sides, as you can see, and it also has a hole in the middle as well. Okay, so for this technique here, for this style here of beading out jewelry, we'll be needing 2 of the calottes. We'll be needing 2 of those. So with the calottes, it comes in different color variations. You can get it in gold plated, you can get it in silver plated, you can also get it in bronze plated. So it comes in any color that you prefer. So we're going to be needing 2 of those, and then we'll be needing a chain. So again, a chain comes in different color variations. You can go for the gold, silver, you can even go for a brass color, you can even go for a darker color. So again, it's up to you, the color that you choose. And we'll also need one of the lobster clasp, which is, obviously you've come across this. This is popularly used for all kinds of jewelry. It opens and closes out jewelry. And then we'll also be needing jump rings. So we need 2 jump rings. So I'm just gonna put some here because we'll be needing that quite a bit. So we need 2 jump rings. 2 jump rings are like this. It's like a circular design that we can open and close as we are beading our jewelry. Okay. So first, and we also need a tiger tail. A tiger tail is like a stainless steel wire with a nylon coating. This is extremely strong. I use this a lot in my beaded jewelry. I also use this as well in my necklaces, my bracelets. I use this also in my pair of earrings, believe it or not. It's very strong. It gives me a long-lasting design. And I always say that the only way you can cut this is if you use a scissors or you use a side cutter to cut it. If you want a long-lasting jewelry, a tiger tail does the job. Okay, so to go for this design, what we're going to do is we also need, I totally forgot, we also need a crimp bead. A crimp bead is like a little metal, I don't know, you can see like a little tube like metal bead. Okay, this is very powerful. It looks very small. I call it small and mighty. This is very powerful. Do not underestimate the power of this. So we'll be needing 2 of those for our designs because we don't need any more, because just the 2 alone will do the job. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention that also the crimpy comes in two forms. It comes in crimp tubes, which is this, and it also comes in round crimps like this, like in a round shape. They both do exactly the same thing. They both do exactly the same thing. They hold your jewelry firmly if you flatten them properly. So they both do exactly the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. The first thing we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to use the crimp tube. Okay, so I'm just going to place them on the table here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut the length of the tiger tail I'm using. For the purpose of this experiment, I'm going to cut a shorter length of the tiger tail to show you exactly how we start and how we finish our design. Okay, but obviously if you're making your longer length necklaces, you have to now measure around the neck, the length of your of the size of the necklace design that you're doing, and then you can now cut it according to the length of the style that you're going for. But like I said, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to cut a smaller length. So I'm just going to use my side cutter. I'm going to cut a little bit that I need. Okay, so I'm just going to place that to one side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shorter part of my wire, and I'm going to pick up my crimp tube. Okay, so when I crimp up my crimp tube, I'm going to swap my hands. So you see this shorter part of the wire here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my flat nose plier. You can equally use your hand to do this. You can use your hand to now take the shorter part of the wire and insert it back into the tube, and then obviously get it ready for the next step. I'm going to use my plier. So I'm just going to take my flat nose plier. I'm going to grip onto it tightly like so. I'm going to bend it a little bit like this, and I'm just going to pass my shorter wire through the crimp. Okay, so the crimp like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my finger. I'm just going to pull my crimp. So I'm just going to pull it. You just slide it across, okay? When you pull it across, I like my crimp bead, my loop to be a little bit small, not too big, small, because I'll tell you why in a few minutes. So when I have my crimp, once I've inserted my wire through my crimp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my flat nose plier. I'm going to flatten the crimp. So I'm just going to place the crimp in between the flat nose plier. I'm going to squash it, just bend. So you just squash it multiple times. Okay, some people choose to use double crimp, depending on the size. Again, if you're using a bigger beads, if you're using bigger beads, what I normally do is I double my wire and I use two crimp beads just to give it that sturdy, just to give it enough weight so it can carry the weight of my beads. But in this case, I'm just going to just use one. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead once I've flattened my crimp. So as you can see, it's flattened like this. I'm just going to take my calottes, if I can find it on the table. Okay, is in here somewhere. Okay, let me just get another one. Let me just grab another one. Okay, so I'm just going to place quite a few of them on the table here. So I'm just going to grab the longer length of my wire. I'm just going to insert it through. So the clamp, what I normally do is I always say that I face my calottes or the clamp bead, the clamp facing forward like a V shape. Okay, then what I do is I take the other opposite end of my tiger tail, I insert it through the middle. There's a hole in the middle. Okay, there's a hole in the middle like this. So you can see the hole there. I don't know if they can see the hole there. So what I do is I insert that longer part of my wire through the middle of my claw clamp. Okay, and then I slide that through. So at this point, you can trim off the shorter part of your wire, or what you can do is I normally pass the shorter part of my wire through the hole, through the claw clamp, and then I squash it. Depending on what you're doing as well, is some people, what they do is if you're using elastic or using any form of wiring It may be like a thread or a thicker thread, sorry, or you can use maybe leather. What some people do is they normally make a knot. When they make a knot, they insert the opposite end of the wiring through the middle of the claw clamp, and then they close it. They dab a little bit of super glue, but we're not doing that today. I'm showing you how to create your starting and finishing using tiger tail. Okay, so what I'm going to do, as you can see here, I have three. I have my looped part in the middle here, okay, and I have two holes on the side of my claw clamp or the calottes, okay. So what I normally do is, because I want my loop to hang inside my claw clamp, so really I'm trying to create the illusion that something is holding my beads, but nobody can see it. So you've got this mighty power here. I call it mighty power in here. And I've got my claw, and I've got my crimp bead, which it gives it that extra hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my jump ring. So this is my jump ring. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my jump ring. It's already opened at this point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one hand and hold this part here. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to insert this part of my jump ring through the first loop on the claw clamp or the calottes. And then I'm going to insert the looped part of my tiger tail through my jump ring too. And I'm going to insert the third hole, which is on the opposite side of the claw clamp. I'm going to pass my jump ring through that as well. So basically your jump ring is holding three elements together. So it's holding the two holes on the claw clamps, on both ends of the claw clamps, and it's holding the looped end of your tiger tail. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to use my finger to pinch the claw clamp closed. So when you pinch it closed, it's closed like that, like a cap. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead now and close up my jump ring. I normally close up my jump ring using two pliers. I use my bend nose plier and I use my flat nose plier. So what I do is I'm using my bend nose plier, holding it firmly on the opposite side, like so. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and twist my jump ring close. So I do it like this position, like this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and then twist it into a closed position. So as you can see, my jump ring is closed. And then what I normally do as well is I just use the top my plier. You can use your bend nose plier or flat nose plier. Just make sure that both ends of the wires, the jump ring are touching each other, so it's giving you that complete closure. So as you can see now, we've got our looped end here. The tiger tail is hiding inside the claw clamp or the calottes. Nobody knows it's in there. It's a secret that is only me and you know. So let's not tell anybody. Okay? So it gives it a nice, neat finishing. So once you've done that, you can now go ahead now and string your beads along. Okay? Or if you're making a necklace, or if you're making a beautiful bracelet or anklets, you can go ahead and string it on. Okay? As you can see, this is very steady now. It's very, very steady. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so once you strung, just imagine that you strung your bead along, and then this is the beginning part. Okay, at this point you can choose to put like maybe a chain here if you wish, or you can just choose to finish it off with just like a jump ring. But if we want to finish off, let's say we want to have an extended chain added to our jump ring, what you can do is before you close your jump ring, what you can do is, let me open up my jump ring again. What you can then do is you insert the end of your chain. Okay, so the end loop of our chain, insert it through the jump ring like so. Okay, so we just take our chain, take one end of your jump ring, and we're going to loop it through our chain like so. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead. I'm going to hold my my jump ring with both of my pliers, and I'm just going to twist it close. So when we twist it close like so, okay, you can see I can just have to move it, wiggle it a bit more, and then it's closed. And I'm going to go ahead again, use my plier, just make sure that I touch up the top so that I put them close. So you can see I have my chain attached onto my jump ring. So again, now you can go ahead and now bead your beautiful necklace or your bracelet. So when you come to the end of your wire, after you've done, normally when you're doing the necklace, it's easier because obviously we're preparing the top part first. But at the point when you get to the end, it gets a little bit tricky because you've got your beads at the end and you're thinking, okay, how am I going to repeat what I've done beforehand towards the end? But it's okay, it's easy. It's still easy technique. So what you do, just imagine our beads are through. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to go ahead and just put some beads on it. So let's just experiment. I'm just going to put some beads here. Okay, just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to attach. I'm not going with any design, any planned design. Okay, so you see this shorter part here. You can trim it off, or what I normally do is I slide the shorter part through my bead. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and slide further my beads along. So I'm just going to slide them, move this to the side. So I'm just going to slide, okay. So I'm just going to slide my design all the way down. So you can, at this point, you have already, let's say, imagine you've already planned out your design on your beading board, and you are just sliding your necklaces, your patterns, or your chosen styles of beads along your tiger tail, okay. So we keep sliding it through like so. Okay, so what I'll do, let's say you come towards the end of your design, okay? Let's move this to one side. So you come to the end of your design like this, all right? And you're thinking, okay, Anita, it's going to be a little bit difficult now. How am I going to now finish off the end? So what I normally do is, how to finish it off is you take your claw clamp again, or your calottes. Again, just imagine it being in a V shape facing forward, not facing down. Just always have that V shape facing forward, okay? So it should be facing up like a V shape. So what I do is I take my end of my my tiger tail, I insert it through the middle. So the middle of the calottes like so. So you can see that in the middle like that, okay? Then what I do is I take my crimp bead. I'm going to insert my wire through my crimp bead. Okay, so I've got my crimp bead. Let me see what I can show you. So I've got my crimp bead there. I've got my calottes facing the V shape facing upwards, and I've got my beads here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, so you can use again your finger to do this, or you can use your wire. But I'm going to use my finger because I've showed you how I use my plier in the beginning, but I'll use my finger. So I'm going to take my finger, take the shorter part of my tiger tail, and I'm going to insert it through my crimp bead. So you can see my crimp bead is here. Let me pull it out so you can see. Okay, let me show you. So pull it out. So that's my crimp bead in the middle. I'm going to pass my crimp bead through my wire through my crimp bead. Okay, so it's a bit tricky, so bear with me. Okay, all right. You can use your hand or you can use your plier to do this, okay? So you see, I'm just going to use my plier now to pull out the other side of my wire. Okay, I'm going to slide my crimp bead along, all right? So I slid my crimp bead. So that's my crimp bead sitting nicely there with my smaller loop. So you'll be thinking, what do I do with this wire here? There's this wire here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my calottes, take this wire, pass it back through that same hole in the middle of the calottes, okay? And then it should come out from the other side. Bear with me. Okay, let me just trim off this bendy parts of my wire. Okay, and then what you do is you insert that back through the middle, So when you set that back through the middle, you can see that short wire here. You can see the crimp. You can see my calotte or my claw clamps there. You can see my crimp bead right there. This shiny small gold, small and mighty bead there. Then what I normally do is I pass this shorter wire through my first bead, okay? So it's coming out, you can see it's peeking out through here, okay? So I'm just gonna hold on to that. Or what you can do is, I'm gonna use my bend nose plier to hold on to that part here, okay? So I'm gonna hold that firmly. Or you can use your round nose plier to hold, your flat nose plier to hold it as well. So I'm just going to use my round nose plier. I'm going to put my round nose plier through the loop, okay? So I'm going to pass it through the loop on the tiger tail, okay? So the loop on the tiger tail like this. I'm just going to now, using this hand here, I'm going to pull. So I'm just going to pull. So you're pulling using this hand here to pull the wire down. So when you pull the wire down, what it does is it shortens the loop on the tiger tail, okay? Again, can you see the loop in the middle here? Can you see how long now my wire is on the side? So you can see the shorter loop in the middle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my hand just to spread the claw clamp a little bit more so that I can now go in there and flatten my crimp. So I'm just going to go ahead using my flat nose plier. I'm going to now put my flat nose plier, sandwich my crimp bead in between the flat nose plier. I'm going to go ahead and crimp it. Okay, so crimp, crimp. Okay, then what I do is this leftover wire here, I'm going to go ahead and now trim that off because I don't need that anymore. So you can see, trim that off and put it here. So you'll be thinking, Anita, what's going to happen to this part here? Again, we're going to repeat what we did before. We're going to now attach our jump ring from the outside of the clamp, the hole on the clamp on the outside, loop it through the middle of our looped tiger tail, and then we'll now finish it off with the other opposite side, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and pick up my jump ring. So this is my jump ring here. So I'm just going to pass one end of my jump ring through my calottes or my claw clamps. I'm going to pass that through. So I'm going to bend it, bend. So pass it through my looped end of my tiger tail. And then I'm going to now pass it again. So I can use my hand now to bend the claw clamp. And I'm now going to pass that through. Bear with me. Okay, and then through the opposite end of the claw clamps. I'm going to use my finger to pinch it close, okay? So when you pinch it close, what I'm going to do now to finish it off, I'm going to insert my lobster clasp. So this is my lobster clasp. So my lobster clasp is this, okay? So I'm just going to insert the looped part of my lobster clasp. I'm going to pass that through my jump ring like this. I'm just going to use my flat nose plier, grip onto the opposite side of my jump ring. I'm going to use my bendy nose plier on the opposite side. I'm just going to twist to close. So when you twist it to close, you've got your lobster clasp in between, like trapped inside the jump ring, and then you've got that finishing here. So you can see now, if you're making your necklaces, this is how it looks like, or your bracelet, this is what it looks like. So that's how you finish, and then that's how you close using your claw clamps. Okay, so this is another way you can finish off your jewelry and your bracelet or anklet using claw clamps. Okay, so I'm going to show you another technique, which is using, so I'm just going to place that to one side. So another technique I'm going to show you is, bear with me, it's here. So it's using wire guardian. Oh, bear with me. Okay, so this is using a wire guardian technique with, again, we're going to use the jump ring. So for this, we're going to use 2 jump rings, 2 wire guardians, 1 chain extender, 1 lobster clasp, and 2 crimp bead covers, and then 2 crimps. So this is what it looks like. Another technique, again, using the wire guardian. Okay. With this one, you can use jump ring It's optional, or you might decide that you don't want to use jump rings, but I'll show you how that works. Okay, so we're going to need 2 crimp covers. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So this is the 2 crimp covers that we need. 2 crimp covers. They are like, it reminds me of those, like, you know, those computer game. Is it computer game called Pac-Man? It reminds me of Pac-Man. It's like a gold-plated Pac-Man. So just imagine that shape. It's like a Pac-Man shape. So we need 2 of those. And then we need 1 lobster clasp or claw clasp. And then we need 1 extender chain. And then we need 2 crimp beads. And then what else do we need? Then obviously jump rings is optional, but we're just going to leave it there. It's optional. Okay, so and then we need 2 wire guardians. So the wire guardians are this. They look like this. They remind me of horseshoe. They're like a horseshoe shape with 2 loops at the end, 2 openings on both ends. Okay, so again, we're going to cut our desired length of our tiger tail. We need a tiger tail again. So again, if you're planning to make your jewelry, planning to make your necklace, or planning to make your bracelet or anklet, again, you need tiger tail for this. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut my desired length. Okay, just for the purpose of the experiment, again, just to show you, I'm just going to cut a shorter length just to show you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to firstly insert our tiger tail through the crimp bead. So let me just grab a crimp bead. So I'm just going to insert just 1. I just need 1 crimp bead. Okay, so that's my crimp bead there, and that's my tiger tail there. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert. So on the wire guardian, which is this horseshoe style, it has 2 openings here on both sides. So I'm just going to insert the end of my tiger tail through the hole. So I'm just going to pass it through here. Okay, I use my plier. Okay, let me use my plier. Let me use my finger. Let me change the position of my finger. So, okay, you can see here, there's a hole there. Okay, so hold that. There's a hole there. Can you see the hole there? So I've passed it through the hole. All right, there's a hole there. Okay, I'm just going to swap my hand down. I'm going to take this tiger tail here. I'm going to insert it back to the opposite side. There's a hole on the opposite side. Okay, again, the wire guardian comes again in different finishing, and it comes again in different sizing as well. Okay, so I've got my wire guardian. There's something about the wire guardian. It has what I call the bridge. The bridge, like it's got like a curved part on the top of the, I don't know whether you can see that here. It has like a curved part at the top. What happens then is when you pass your tiger tail through the wire guardian, when you pull your wire, what happens is your wire sits in between that groove. I don't know if you can see it now. You can barely see it. That's the thing. It's like magic. It disappears. So it hides within the groove. So it sits on top of it. Okay. So what I do is, so you got your crimp bead here. I'm not going to go ahead and press my crimp yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert, again, this is the part I said is optional. You can use your jump ring, or you may choose not to use your jump ring. It's still fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the looped part of my claw clasp, which is my the claw clasp or the lobster clasp. I'm going to insert that hole. So I'm just going to open up my wire like this. Okay, let me use this hand to hold the crimp bead. Okay, so I have to be careful because I don't want this to wiggle out, my wire to wiggle out. So I'm just going to find a way of positioning. Okay, so I'm just going to insert the shorter part of my wire. I'm going to insert that through the looped part of the lobster clasp. Okay, so when we get here, I'm just going to use my finger now to hold these 2 wires together. I'm going to pass the wire guardian through the middle like this. So you can see how it's looking now. Okay, so you see I'm gripping onto my lobster clasp. I've got my tiger tail wrapped around my wire guardian. I've got my crimp bead somewhere there, but I'm going to now pass the shorter part of my wire, which is this wire here, the shorter part here. I'm going to pass that through my crimp bead. Okay, so I'm going to pass that through my crimp bead. And then I'm going to pull my crimp bead down, slide it down. Okay, so when I get here, so when you pull it, so you pull your crimp bead so that it rests just underneath your wire guardian. Okay, so at this point when you're about to crimp, flatten your crimp bead. You have to be careful not to flatten the loops on the wire guardian. Okay, so I'm going to use my flat nose plier. I'm going to place my crimp bead in between my flat nose plier. I'm going to flatten. Okay, so when I flatten it, it looks like this. Okay, all right, so this next stage is very important. Some people will now go ahead and bead like so. Okay, I'll show you now. Okay, again, it's up to you. It's optional. There's no wrong way to this. You can bead this way. After you flatten your crimp, you can go ahead and continue beading your jewelry. So passing your bead, threading your beads onto your jewelry, your tiger tail, sorry. So this is what it looks like. So you can let me thread a couple more beads, so just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so you can go ahead and you can continue beading. That's fine. And when you get to the end, we'll repeat how we started from the beginning. Or what you could do is you can use your bead crimp cover. So the crimp cover is the one I said that looks like Pac-Man. I call it Pac-Man. So what I'm going to do is you see the open parts of the crimp bead. I'm going to use it to cover. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to hide the crimp bead. So when we close our crimp, use the crimp cover to close the crimp, it looks as if we have like a gold bead. It gives it that nice finishing touch. You see, in the first design, we hid our the crimp bead inside the claw clamp. Again, we're trying to hide the crimp bead inside the crimp cover. Again, it's optional. You could choose to cover it or you could choose not to cover it. So what I've done is I've placed my crimp bead inside my crimp cover like this. So it's facing up. You see it's like the mouth of the crimp cover is open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and use my flat nose plier. I'm going to go ahead and cover the crimp. I'm just going to squash it. So when you squash it, it's closing, okay? So I'm going to squash it again, all right? So you just squash. So you close it. So what it does is it forms like a round bead. So when you squash it, look at that. You have like a nice round bead. So when you now put your beads now, you see when you now thread your jewelry now, you wouldn't know that there's a crimp bead in there, okay? I mean, I prefer, to be honest with you, I actually prefer when I'm making my jewelry and I cover it with a bead cover. And I'll tell you this, it's because, sometimes, I don't want when I wear my jewelry and at the back of my neck, I'll have the crimp bead, the sharp edges on the crimp bead itching the back of my neck and irritating my skin. I don't like that. It can be big. Some people prefer it. Again, some people, for me personally, I like to cover my my crimps because obviously it will scratch my neck, and I like to wear comfortable jewelry all day, especially if I'm running around. I don't want anything that's going to be causing me discomfort. So once I cover it like so, I'm just going to make sure that my crimp. So make sure that you've closed the loop, the gap. You've closed your crimp bead properly, okay? So once you close it, that's what it looks like. And then we're gonna go ahead and now thread our beads. Okay, so we'll thread our beads. So again, we just pass the beads as normal. So let's say in this case, you've chosen your beads, you've laid it all out on your beading board, you've already know what your designs are gonna look like. So again, I'm going to take my part and my shorter wire. You can cut it actually. Let me show you. We can cut it. You can pass it through your wire, your beads, or you can cut it. So I'm just going to trim that bit out, and I'm just going to pass my beads through. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat. Just keep going till I get the length I need, the design I need. So imagine you make, like I said, imagine you're making this, and then when you get to the end, you've got your design. All right. So what we're going to do next is, so when, let's say for instance, I've threaded all my beads, and this is what it looks like. So you'll be thinking, okay, what's next? So what's next is we're going to take the shorter ends when you come towards the end of your necklace, after you've finished threading, stringing them through, I'm going to pass through my crimp bead through. So I'm just going to take that sharper end, the end of my tiger tail, I'm going to pass it through, okay? I always say that whenever you're making jewelry, any form of stringing, always give yourself enough room at the end to be able to loop, because it's better to have a longer length to use than to have a shorter length that you're going to end up struggling with. You know, imagine having a shorter length of the tiger tail, you're having to insert it, crimp it. I like to give myself enough space so to allow me to maneuver and put the crimp and things like that I need. So what I'm going to go ahead now is I'm just going to take I put my crimp bead. As you can see, my crimp bead is through here. That's my crimp bead there. So I'm just going to take my tiger tail, insert it through the looped end, this part here. I'm going to go around, past this wire, through the opposite side of my wire guardian. Okay, so pass it through the other loop here. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So when you pass it through, it looks like this. Okay, so it looks like that. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead now is I'm going to insert my chain. All right, so you take your chain, the looped part of your chain, the end part of your chain. I'm going to insert that chain through my wire, through the tiger tail, and then I'm going to pull my wire guardian like this, as you can see. So you can see now the tiger tail is resting in between what I call the bridge. I call it the bridge, but it's the ridged part on top of the wire guardian. So what I'm going to go through, what I'm going to do next is take the shorter part. So I'm just going to pull my wire a little bit. So I'm going to take this shorter part of my tiger tail. I'm going to insert that through the crimp bead. So the crimp bead is there. So that's my crimp bead there. So I'm going to insert that through. I'm going to push it through. I'm going to pass it through one of the beads. Okay. I'm going to pull. So when I pull, so that's my longer than, I'm just going to pull it, pull. Okay. So when you get to this point here, so it looks like this. So you've got your wire here, your tiger tail here. You've got your crimp bead there. You've got your wire guardian. You've got your chain extender right in the middle of your wire guardian. Okay, so once you've pulled the desired length, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead now and use my flat nose plier and flatten the crimp. So again, be careful when you're flattening the crimp. You don't want to flatten the loops on the end of your wire guardian. So using my flat nose plier, I'm going to now pinch my crimp. So once I've done that, I'm going to do, as you can see now, it's steady. I'm going to go ahead now and trim off this shorter wire here using my side cutter because I don't need that. Okay, I'm just going to put that to one side. So as you can see now, I have this part here, but we are not done yet because we still need to finish it off. We need to finish off. So we've got our crimp cover. Again, the crimp cover. So again, facing it up with the mouth open. So I call it like a mouth. The mouth will be open. So I'm just going to insert my crimp bead, my crimped end. Oh, sorry. My crimped end through the mouth of the bead cover. So again, the mouth will be open. Just imagine it like a mouth wide open. It's wide open like that. So I'm just going to use my flat nose plier. I'm just going to pinch my bead cover, close. So when you pinch it, close. So you go around, look at it. If you think it's not closed properly, use your flat nose plier and then you just close it. I also like to use, I've got like flat nose plier that has like a rich part there in the middle, or I've got one that is like that has like a smooth finishing. So I'm gonna use that just to close it because I don't want, yes, I just close it. But the other one can do the job too. Okay. So when I close it, make sure that you close that crimp cover. So when you close it, this is what it looks like. It gives it a lovely finishing. So as you can see now, we've got like the gold crimp cover now looks like a gold bead once we've closed it. It adds that lovely, lovely look to our necklace. Okay, so this is how you can start and finish off your necklace using the wire guardian, using the crimp bead, using the bead cover, using the gold chain extender, and using the lobster clasp, and then using your tiger tail. So this is a way you can do it. Okay, so this is our second way you can start and finish off your necklace. Okay, so the third one that I commonly see a lot in shops when I go to shops, there's nothing wrong with this. For me, like I said, it's each to their own, but I commonly see this in stores. Like I said initially, I do not like, for me personally, this is a personal choice of mine, I do not like crimp beads scratching my neck. I like jewelry to be very comfortable around my neck. So the third way you can start and finish off your stringing method is using just the crimp, and then using your tiger tail. You can use both your chain extender, using two jump rings, and then one lobster clasp, and then two crimps. So again, we're gonna cut the desired length that we need. So this is the length that we need, like so. All right, so I'm just gonna cut the need, and then you need tiger tail, of course, sorry. So I'm just gonna cut the length that I need of the tiger tail. So I'm just gonna cut it like so. All right, so again, crimp bead. So depending if you're in a rush, and you feel like you don't want to go through the whole hassle of the first technique or the second technique, so you just pass your tiger tail through the crimp. Okay, and then what you do in this case is you take the shorter part of your tiger tail and you pass it through the crimp tube. Okay, so I'm just going to pass it through my crimp tube like this. So when you pass it through your crimp tube, I'm just going to slide it along like so. Okay, so you get your desired length loop. Don't ever have, well, again, I'm not saying don't, but it's up to you. I wouldn't like my loop to be this big. No, I like to slide it I like it to be smaller, length like so, smaller, just like this. Okay, this is how I want my loop to be. So you can go ahead now and flatten your crimp using your flat nose plier. Okay, then what you can then do is you can now take your jump ring. So I'm just going to take my jump ring, insert it through the looped part of my tiger tail, and then I'm going to take the looped part of my lobster clasp and going to insert that through. Okay, I'm just going to swap my pliers now. I'm just going to use my flat nose plier, and I'm just going to use my bendy nose plier as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and twist. I'm going to go ahead and twist my jump ring close. So when you twist your jump ring close, you've got this. Let me flatten the top here. Sorry, bear with me. So I'm just going to flatten. I'm using the one plier. Just going to use my bend nose plier just to get my two wires touching together. Okay, so just bend it, bendy. Not bend it, but just like make sure that both ends of the wires are touching each other so it's completely closed. So this is what it looks like. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead I'm going to change my beads. Let me change up my beads. Let me use a different style beads. Let me use a bigger bead instead. Actually, let me use this bead here. Different color. Why not? So I'm just going to go ahead and insert my bead. Just string it as normal. So again, I'm going to take the shorter part of my wire. I'm going to pass it through the bead like this. Okay. So just ready. Again, you can cut it off if you wish. It doesn't matter really. You can just continue threading it on, or you can trim it off. So insert, and then I'm gonna repeat, and then gonna do the same here. Okay, so I've got my, you see, I've hidden my shorter wires through. So I'm just gonna repeat the same thing. Okay, just gonna, it's easier to use this hand. And then I'm gonna insert all my beads through. Again, imagine if you make using this technique, you're now stringing your desired style through the beads. Okay, so I've got my beads here, I've got my crimped end here with my jump ring, I've got my lobster clasp at the end. So I'm left with this part here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my crimp. So this is my crimp. So I'm just going to take this end of my wire, pass it through my crimp like so. Okay, take this end of the wire here. I'm going to pass it back through the crimp. Pass it through the crimp. So take my shorter wire, pass it through the crimp like this. So you can see that shorter part is coming out. I'm going to slide, use my finger and slide my crimp out like that. So I'm just going to take this wire, I'm going to pass it through one of the bead. So when I pass it through the hole on the top bead, so again, so you can see it coming out through here, I'm going to use my round nose plier, insert it through the loop. You see this loop here? My tiger tail is, my crimp bead is there. I'm just going to insert it like this. I'm going to use my bending nose plier. I'm just going to hold on to the opposite end, you know, the part, the wire that's coming out under the bead, and I'm going to now pull using, I'm just going to pull using this hand and pull with the bending nose and pull just to make my wire shorter. Okay, so once you've done that, then what you can do is you can now pull your wire shorter if you wish to get the smaller loop that you want, which is this loop here. I'm going to go ahead and use my flat nose plier. I'm going to now flatten my crimp, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim off this wire here. So once I've done that, I've got my looped end, so you can now straighten up all your beads. Straighten up all your beads like that, give them room to maneuver. Okay, and then you've got your looped end here. To finish it off, what we're going to do is we're just going to take our jump ring, insert your jump ring, one end of your jump ring through the looped end. Okay, and then what we're going to do to finish it off is we're just going to take one looped end of your chain, we're going to insert that through the jump ring like so, and then we are going to go ahead and close the jump ring. So using my flat nose plier, I'm going to hold one side of the jump ring, and then using the other side of I'm going to grip onto the other part of the jump ring using my my bent nose plier, and I'm just going to now twist it close. So you just twist, twist, twist to close. So when you twist it to close, if you feel like the top part is not bent meeting, you just make that up, and then you've got that way of finishing off your necklace using the crimp bead. So you can see the crimp bead. Let me move all this pliers so you can see. So this is a technique, one of the third technique I've showed you today, using just the crimp. Okay, as you can see, I've used two crimps, I've used two jump rings, and I've used one lobster clasp here, the lobster clasp, and I've used one chain extender. Then you've got your tiger tail, and then you've got your beads. So this is one of the ways you can finish it off. And then this is the second technique that we did. We used the wire guardian. So I've used 2 wire guardians, 2 crimp bead covers. I've got used one lobster clasp, one chain extender, and I've used my tiger tail. So this is the second way you can finish off your one of the stringing methods to finish off your necklace. And then this is the first one we did, which is using the claw clamps or the calottes method. So for this, I use 2 calottes or the claw clamps. I've used 2 crimp beads. I've used 2 jump rings, and I've used 1 chain extender, and I've used 1 lobster clasp. And again, I've used my stringing material, which is the tiger tail. And of course, you've got your beads here. So these are the 3 ways you can finish and start and finish off your necklaces. So I look forward to seeing your beautiful, beautiful creations. I'm sure you're going to have fun. Whichever method you choose to use, you can use this method to make your necklaces, make your bracelets, and you can make your anklets as well. So happy creating. Have a wonderful time. Enjoy.